Nobody sees you at 9:40 at night. The house has gone quiet in the particular way a house goes quiet when nothing in it needs anything from you anymore. The day is finished. Whatever it asked of you, you gave. The last door is closed, and there is nobody left to perform for. And in that stillness, your hand opens a cupboard your mind never asked it to open. Watch that hand. It moves before the thought arrives. There is no decision in it. You are not hungry in any way your body would recognize as hunger, because you ate, and the eating was fine, and none of this has anything to do with the meal. Yet there you are in the low light, standing in front of a shelf, already holding something sweet before you have finished admitting you crossed the room. You have called this weakness. Many nights, quietly, you have called it worse than that. Set the verdict down for the length of this transmission. Not forever, just for now, because you cannot see clearly what you are still busy sentencing. That hand is not reaching for sugar. It is reaching for something sugar has been standing in for. Something with no other exit at this hour of your day. The Arcturian Council has been watching that hour. Not the food in it, the hour. And what they observe is not a person failing at discipline. What they observe is a vessel that has held pressure for 14 hours straight and has finally reached the minute where the holding stops. Energy that has been contained all day does not simply dissolve when you sit down. It has to go somewhere. It moves toward the fastest available opening, and in almost every human life on this planet, the fastest available opening is the mouth. That is what sugar is at 9:40, not a food, an exit. You will have noticed something strange about it already, even if you never had language for it. The craving does not track your appetite. It tracks your clock. It arrives at nearly the same time whether dinner was small or enormous, whether you are tired or wired, whether you are alone or 3 rooms from someone sleeping. Something in you is keeping an appointment. I want to be careful here, because this is not a transmission about willpower, and it is not a transmission about food being your enemy. Nothing is being taken from you tonight. This is a transmission about a leak, a specific one. It opens in your field at a specific minute of a specific hour, and until you locate that minute, you will keep treating the sweetness as the problem, when the sweetness was only ever the shape the escape took. The Council asked that this reach you before another night closes over it unexamined. So stay. This is not going to be about eating less. There is a reason this arrives now, and not in some gentler season of your life. The Earth is moving through an acceleration phase that the Council tracks by the thinning of the evening. You may already feel it. The hours after dark have stopped behaving the way they used to. Sleep comes later, or arrives, and then releases you at 3 in the morning. The nights feel longer and shorter at once. Your body is being asked to do more repair work in fewer hours than it was doing 2 years ago, because the incoming frequencies are running higher, and higher frequency means faster cellular turnover, and faster turnover means the night is no longer passive time. The night has become a working shift, and the star-seed nervous system, which was already more porous than most, feels this first. The Arcturian Council does not open a channel over an ordinary matter. They do not transmit about food. They transmit about frequency, and they have opened this one because a pattern is now appearing in enough starseed fields at once that it has stopped being personal and started being structural. Across thousands of lives, at almost the same point in the evening arc, the same thing is happening. The vessel that carried the day intact is giving way at one seam, and a substance is being used, night after night, to plug a seam that no substance can plug. In Arcturian terms, what you are living through at that hour is not a dietary failure. It is a discharge event in the auric field. Your field is a containment architecture. It holds all day. It holds through the meeting you were not ready for, through the message you decided not to answer, through the sentence you swallowed at dinner because saying it would have cost more than it was worth. That is not repression. That is what a functioning field does. It contains charge until there is a safe place to put it down. But containment is not release, and nowhere in your day did anybody teach you how to release. So the charge waits, patiently, all the way to the hour when your body finally lets go of its posture. And at that exact moment, the seal opens. Not metaphorically. Measurably, in the electromagnetic architecture surrounding you, there is a pressure drop, and the field reaches for the nearest thing dense enough to fill it. You know the sensation, even if you have never described it. A kind of soft collapse somewhere under the ribs when the last obligation of the day lifts. Relief and hollowness arriving together, indistinguishable, in the same breath. Most people call that tiredness, and go looking for something to put in it. It is not tiredness. It is the sound a container makes when the pressure that was holding its walls straight is suddenly gone. Here is what should stop you. The same square of chocolate that you ate at 3 in the afternoon, without a single ripple in your field, will, at 9:40 at night, register in that same field as loss. Same cocoa, same sugar, same body. One of those two moments nourishes you, and the other one drains something you cannot name and will feel the absence of tomorrow. The substance did not change between them. Nothing about the food is different. Something else moved in the 6 hours between. Something you have never been told about. And that shift, not the sugar, is what decides which of the two nights you wake up in. This is why Arcturian frequency was asked to bring the hour forward rather than the food. Because you have been negotiating with the wrong variable for a very long time, and the council would like that negotiation to end tonight. Let me tell you what this looks like from the inside, so you can check it against your own week rather than take my word for it. The first thing is the timing. Your craving keeps an appointment. It arrives inside the same narrow band of the evening almost every night, and it arrives whether you ate a full dinner an hour ago or barely ate at all. Hunger does not work like that. Hunger tracks depletion. This tracks a clock, and it has never once been late. The second thing is the silence of the movement. You do not decide to go to the kitchen. You arrive there. Somewhere between the sofa and the cupboard, there is a gap in the recording, and the first conscious thought you have is usually the one that begins with the word just. Just one. Just tonight. Just a small piece. The reaching happened without you. The third thing is that it does not close. You eat the thing. The taste is exactly what you expected, and it is over in 90 seconds, and then you are still standing in the same square of kitchen floor, with the same feeling you went there to solve. So you look for the second thing, not because the first was too small, but because the first never touched what was actually asking. And the fourth thing is what comes afterward, in the dark, when the plate is gone, and you are lying in bed running the small trial. The verdict is always harsher than the crime. No willpower, every single night. What is wrong with me? A grown person cannot walk past a cupboard. Notice that the punishment is enormous, and the act was one piece of chocolate. That disproportion is information. You do not sentence yourself that severely over food. You sentence yourself that severely over something you sense you have failed to say or failed to receive, and the food is simply the last thing your hand touched before the feeling arrived. 4 things, and every one of them you have filed separately, as 4 different pieces of evidence in the same long case against yourself. They are not 4. They are one event, observed from 4 angles. The timing, the blankness, the not closing, and the shame are all the same leak, described by different senses. A field under pressure holds until it cannot, releases through the fastest opening it can find, and then the mind, which hates unexplained behavior, writes a story afterward about character. The story is always about character. The event was never about character. A pipe that gives way at its weakest joint is not a badly behaved pipe. It is a pipe under pressure at the one place nobody reinforced. This is also why one clean night of resisting never fixes it, and why you always came back. You were not weak on the night you came back. The pressure was simply higher that day, and nothing had been built to receive it. Which is the part that asks something of you. A leak that opens at the same minute every night is not closed by understanding it once. It is closed by meeting it at that minute, in writing, awake, for enough consecutive nights that your field learns a different route. Insight at 11 in the morning does not travel to 9:40 at night on its own. It has to be carried there, deliberately, by hand, night after night, until the new route holds without you. And I want to say something to the part of you that has already tried. You have done real work. You may have sat with excellent people who helped you understand where this began. You may have changed how you eat completely, in ways that improved your health measurably, and none of that is being undone tonight. Those tools did what they were built to do, and they did it well. What follows works at a different depth and in a different way, alongside everything you already have, on a layer those approaches were never designed to reach, not instead, underneath. Because here is what nobody put into words for you. You were never craving sugar. You were craving the end of holding. You were craving one moment in a 14-hour day where something enters you and asks nothing back, where you are on the receiving end, where you are not the one who is capable, reliable, and fine. And in the entire architecture of your evening, the only thing available that gives without requiring anything from you is something sweet. That is what the cupboard has been, not appetite, the nearest available act of being cared for, performed by you, on yourself, in a dark kitchen, because there was no one else awake, and no other language left in you at that hour. And then you called it a failure. For years you called the only tenderness in your evening a failure. If something just moved through your chest and made your eyes hot, that is recognition, and I need you to mark it rather than let it pass. Leave 111 in the comment field below this transmission. In the Arcturian numerical system, 111 is a gateway opening. The moment a sealed thing becomes passable, you are not writing a number, you are marking the second the door was found. Mark it, and stay with me, because the leak has a location. It is not general, and it is not everywhere. It has a minute, and it has a seam, and it has a direction, and every single night at that minute, the charge you carried all day comes down through your body, looking for an exit that your throat and your solar plexus were never designed to be. That is the mechanism, and it can be closed from the inside. Put both feet flat on the floor and let your breath go out longer than it came in. That is all the preparation this needs. You do not have to close your eyes. If they are open, let them rest on one unremarkable point in the room and stay there. Now go back through today, not the whole day, just the evening, 6 o'clock. Where were you? What were you holding? Who still needed something from you? Move forward slowly. 7, 8, somewhere in there, the last requirement of your day ended. Find that moment. It might be a door closing, a screen going dark, the last plate set down, the sound of someone else's breathing settling into sleep. That is your minute. Mark it. Everything after it belongs to the leak. Some part of you already knew the time without counting. It has known it for years. Say the hour to yourself now, whatever it turned out to be, and let it be exact rather than approximate. The field responds to precision. Stay there, in that minute, and let the day's charge become visible to you. It is not an idea. It is a mass, and it is sitting high in your body, somewhere between the base of your throat and the top of your stomach. And it has been sitting there since roughly the hour you first made yourself pleasant to someone you were tired of. You can feel the weight of it now, pressing outward just under the breastbone. Do not push it down. Do not explain it. Just look at it and ask it one question. What are you? Wait. Do not answer for it. The answer will not arrive as a word first. It will arrive as a temperature, or a tightening, or an image of a specific face. Give it 3 breaths. And now let it be named. Whatever rises is the true signal. It may be loneliness, plain and enormous, that you have been outrunning since morning. It may be depletion, the simple fact that you gave more than you had. It may be a sentence you did not say today, sitting whole and unspoken behind your collarbone. It may be that nobody asked you a single real question since you woke up. Say it silently, once, exactly as it is, not softened, not made reasonable, not turned into something more acceptable than what it actually is. If what rose was the word alone, say alone. The moment it is named, feel the mass change shape. It loosens because it no longer has to disguise itself as appetite. Now the gate. Bring your attention to your solar plexus, the soft field just above the navel, and see it as an opening rather than a wall. Around it, imagine the warm gold of citrine settling into place, not sealing it shut, but turning it from an exit into a door with a direction. Let the door face downward, and down it goes. The charge begins to descend, unhurried, the way water moves when a channel is finally cut for it, through the belly, through the hips, which have been braced all day without your permission, and are only now discovering they were braced, down the thighs, the knees, the ankles, and out through the soles of your feet, into the dark, cool weight of black tourmaline, waiting in the ground beneath the floor. It has somewhere to go now. It is not climbing toward your mouth. It is moving toward the ground, which can receive it, and has always been able to receive it, and was waiting all evening. Follow it down 3 more times. The throat softens as the pressure drops below it, and there is nothing arriving that it needs to swallow. And now, something in the center of you goes quiet, in a way it has not gone quiet at this hour in years. That is the seal closing from the inside. If you just felt the wanting drop out of your chest like a hand letting go, place 8088 in the comment field below this transmission. In Arcturian numerics, 888 is the moment 2 timelines converge, and the one you were living stops being the only option. You have just felt the other one arrive. Stay in it. Do not move yet. Breathe here, in the sealed field, and notice what your kitchen is now. It is a room. It is only a room. The cupboard is furniture. The thing that was pulling at you for years is standing in the corner of the evening with no charge left in it, and you are still here, upright, unhurried, whole, and nothing was taken from you to make this happen. 3 more breaths in this state. Let the field hold its own shape without you gripping it. It knows how now. It was never unable. It was only never given a downward path and a name for what it was carrying. And as you sit inside the closed field, something begins to make itself known that you were not expecting. Not a craving, not a thought, a question, forming at the edge of the calm, about the 6 hours that separate the chocolate that fed you from the chocolate that drained you. Because you have just felt the answer with your body. Now you are going to be told what it is. Stay in that quiet a moment longer, because what you just felt has a name, and before it is given to you, there is one practical thing you should have. It's not hunger, it's a signal. Decoding your body's messages with the Arcturian Council was written for the minute you just located. It gives you a 10-second check-in you run at the cupboard before opening it. A decoding key that separates true hunger from thirst, feeling, rhythm, and depletion, so the right need finally gets the right answer, and a 21-day evening practice with written prompts for the hour your seal gives way. One rule in it never bends. When the hunger is real, you eat. The link is in the description and pinned in the comment field. Choosing it also keeps these transmissions arriving. Now, the mechanism. The Council calls this the handover. Every human body runs 2 states, and the whole of your evening turns on the transition between them. During the day, your nervous system is in output. It is holding your posture, your tone, your attention, your usefulness. The vagus nerve, the long channel that runs from the base of your skull through your chest into your gut, spends the daylight hours in one job. It regulates while you carry. It keeps the container pressurized so you can function inside it. Then the day ends, and the vagus nerve begins its shift. It hands the body over from holding to release. This is not a switch, it is a handover, and a handover has a duration, and inside that duration there is a window where neither state is fully in charge. The holding has stopped. The release has not organized itself yet. Your field is between 2 authorities. That window is where your 940 lives. And a handover is a vulnerable thing in any system. Think of any transfer of responsibility you have ever witnessed. The moment one shift ends and the next has not fully taken over. The few minutes where the room belongs to nobody. That is when things get dropped. Your nervous system runs that same transfer every single evening of your life. And in most bodies on this planet, it is completely unattended. Nobody was taught to be present for it. Nobody was told it exists. So the handover happens the way an unattended transfer always happens, which is to say something falls and the falling is quiet, and you only notice the consequence. And in that window, everything the day accumulated begins to move. The gut, which has been quietly recording the entire emotional weather of your day, transmits upward through that same channel, and it does so within roughly 90 minutes of the moment your nervous system stood down. Not longer, not shorter. which is why your craving keeps its appointment with such precision. It is not tracking your stomach. It is tracking the 90-minute delay between the second you stopped performing and the second the unprocessed charge finishes its climb. Sit with the accuracy of that. The thing you have been calling a lack of discipline runs on a timer set by your own nervous system, and it has been running on that timer for years while you looked for the fault in your character. But this is only half of the handover, and the second half is where the Arcturian layer opens. Because your body is not only shifting nervous states after dark, it is entering the cellular regeneration window. When light drops, your mitochondria, the small engines inside every cell of you, change their function. During daylight, they run on production. They make fuel because you are spending it. After dark, they move into repair. They stop optimizing for output and begin the work of rebuilding what the day cost. And this is the hour when damaged structures are cleared, when tissue is rewritten, when the physical vehicle is quietly reconstructed cell by cell without ever asking your permission. This is why the same amount of sleep restores you differently on different nights. The hours were identical. What your cells were permitted to do inside those hours was not. And in the Arcturian field of vision, that repair is not merely chemical, it is luminous. Every cell in your body emits light, a faint, coherent, measurable emission that the Council has always regarded as the truest reading of a human being's state, more honest than words, more honest than the face. This is your biophoton field. During the regeneration window, that emission organizes itself. It becomes coherent, ordered, aligned, like a room of voices settling into one tone, and the coherence is what makes the repair possible. Light must be orderly before it can rebuild anything. So here is your evening as the Council actually sees it. Two processes begin at almost the same moment. Your nervous system opens the seal to hand you over from holding to release. Your cells go dark and orderly to begin rebuilding you. And into that precise intersection, night after night, comes a flood of sugar. Now the question you have been carrying since the beginning of this transmission can be answered. The chocolate at 3 in the afternoon and the chocolate at 9:40 are chemically identical and energetically opposite, and the difference has nothing whatsoever to do with the food. At 3 in the afternoon, your body is in production. Your mitochondria are running fuel. Your nervous system is holding, which means your field is pressurized and sealed. Glucose arrives into a system built at that hour to spend it. It becomes movement, thought, warmth, the second half of your working day. Your biophoton emission does not scatter, because nothing has been asked of it that it was not already doing. The sugar is metabolized as fuel, inside a closed vessel. During the hours the vessel was designed for intake. Nothing leaks, because nothing is open. At 9:40, every single one of those conditions has reversed. The seal is open, because the handover is in progress. The cells have already switched into repair, and glucose arriving into a body in repair mode does not become fuel, because there is nothing left in the schedule to fuel. It arrives as static. Your cells must interrupt the rebuilding to process it, and the coherent emission that was organizing itself into repair scatters and dims. The room of voices that had just found one tone is broken back into noise. That is what you are feeling the next morning, not the calories, the interrupted night. You woke up unrepaired, and you blamed the sleep, or the age, or yourself, and the actual event was that your regeneration window was spent processing an emergency you delivered into it. At the exact hour it had begun something else. This is also the answer to a heaviness you have never been able to explain. A body that eats reasonably, moves reasonably, and still feels thick in the mornings, dull behind the eyes, slightly out of focus in its own outline. That is not weight. In the Arcturian reading, that is a light field that has been interrupted mid-repair for so many consecutive nights that it has stopped completing its own restoration. The dimness accumulated, and no daytime effort reaches it, because the damage is not being done in the daytime. And because the seal was open when the sugar arrived, the intake did not even land inside you. It passed through a field that was in the middle of releasing. This is why the eating never closes anything. You are pouring into a vessel with the door held open, at the hour your body had turned its attention inward, and calling the emptiness afterward proof that you have no control. You have enormous control. You have been applying it magnificently and continuously for 14 hours a day. The handover is simply the 1 hour nobody ever told you existed, and you cannot govern an hour you do not know is there. Consider what you have actually been doing all this time. You located, without instruction, the precise moment your field opens. You found the fastest available substance for filling it. You did this reliably, night after night, with no teaching and no map, using the only material within reach. That is not the behavior of someone who has lost control of themselves. That is a system solving a real problem with the only tool it had been given. The solution was imperfect. The diagnosis underneath it was flawless. Your body has been right about the hour this entire time. It simply had no word for what the hour needed, so it kept sending you the closest word it knew, which was sweetness. If the whole shape of it just assembled itself in your mind, if you are sitting there recalculating years of nights in a single breath, place 333 in the comment field. 333 is the Arcturian Trinity alignment, the frequency of cellular recalibration, and it is registered when a body finally understands its own timing. You are not agreeing with an idea, you are logging a correction. And notice what this mechanism does not require of you. It does not require you to remove anything from your kitchen. It does not require you to be stronger at 9:40 than you were at 9. The sugar was never the variable. The hour was the variable. And the hour is not a matter of willpower. It is a matter of what your field is doing while you stand in it. Which means the same square of chocolate, eaten at 3 in the afternoon in a sealed and producing body, is simply food. And the intervention you ran a few minutes ago was never a technique for resisting anything. It was a way of closing the seal manually, before the handover leaves it open, so that the charge your day accumulated has a route downward through you into the ground, rather than a route outward through your mouth. Close the seal, and the craving does not need to be defeated. It never fully arrives. There is nothing for it to escape through, and a signal with no exit does the one thing you have never let it do. It stays long enough to be understood. That is the mechanism, not a rule about food. A window in your own physiology, opening at the same hour every night, which you now know how to attend. Before anything practical, one thing needs saying. You stayed through a transmission that walked directly into the most private minute of your day, the one you have never described to anyone, and you did not leave when it got close. That is not a small act. Most people will not look at the cupboard hour at all, because looking requires admitting how much has been running underneath it. You looked. The council registers that, and so does your field. Now, what to do with what has opened? First, do not wait for the craving. Run the downward gate 10 minutes before your minute, not during it. You know your hour now. Sit, drop the day's charge through the belly, and out through the soles of the feet, and close the solar plexus gate while the field is still calm. A seal, set in advance, holds. A seal attempted mid-leak is a wrestling match, and you will lose it some nights, and then you will punish yourself, and we are finished with that. 2 minutes is enough. It does not need to look like meditation. It does not need candles or silence or a particular posture. It needs to happen before the handover, not after. Second, write the hour down and leave it where your hand goes. On the cupboard door, on the shelf, inside the drawer you open without thinking. Not a warning, not a rule, just the number, so that the hand that moves before you do meets language before it meets sugar. That half second of contact is where the automatic movement becomes a choice again. Third, answer the actual signal, in whatever form it arrived during the meditation. If what rose was loneliness, send one message tonight, even a short one, to someone who does not need you to be capable. If it was unspoken words, write the sentence you did not say, on paper, unsent, in full. If it was depletion, then end your day earlier tomorrow rather than later, because you gave more than you had, and the field is telling you so directly. The signal is specific. The answer must be specific. Generic self-care will not close this, because the field is not asking for care in general. It is asking for one exact thing that you already identified tonight and have probably been avoiding for months. Give it that thing. This is the entire difference between managing yourself and listening to yourself. And fourth, Which matters more than the other three? If the check comes back and the hunger is real, you eat. Without negotiation, and without a trial afterward. With this work has never been about eating less. A body that is genuinely hungry at night is not leaking. It is asking, and asking gets answered. Give this the next 4 nights before you assess anything. 4 evenings of meeting your hour deliberately is what it takes for the field to learn that there is a route downward, and after 4 nights the descent begins to happen without you consciously initiating it. That is the marker to watch for, not the absence of craving, the presence of somewhere else for it to go. And you can keep this going in writing, night by night, in the practice, which is where the hour becomes a habit instead of an insight. I want to know your minute, and so does the council. Leave the exact clock time your craving arrives in the comment field below. Not what you eat, the hour. The council reads the hour, not the food. And a field of thousands of times posted together shows a pattern that no single person could see alone. Now receive this, in your own voice, in the present tense. I am not a person who lacks control. I am a person whose evening was never explained to them. My field holds all day, and now it also knows how to set itself down. The hour that used to take something from me is the hour I meet myself in. And when I am hungry, I eat, without a trial. Say the last one twice if it is the one that catches in your throat, because the line that resists is always the line that is doing the work. You are a star seed with a nervous system that has been carrying an unusual load in an unusually dense environment, and you have carried it well. Tonight you were shown the seam. The seam was never a flaw in you. It was simply the place your architecture was never finished, and it is being finished now, in your own hands, at your own hour. The kitchen is a room again. Let it stay a room. Something in your field is different than it was when this began, and it is worth naming before you move. The seam is closed, not permanently and not by force, but it is closed now, and more importantly, your body has been shown where it was. That knowledge does not leave. Even on a night when you do nothing, when you are too tired to sit and drop the charge and you find yourself at the cupboard again, you will now be standing there with your eyes open, and awareness at the leak point changes the leak, even when the hand still moves. Nothing about tonight requires perfection from you. The next few evenings may feel strange. Some people find the hour arrives and simply passes, unremarkable, and they notice afterward that they never went to the kitchen at all. Others feel the charge more sharply for a night or two, because a thing that used to escape immediately is now being felt on its way down. Both are correct. Both are the seal working. Let the days do what they are doing, and do not audit yourself hourly. The field integrates on its own schedule, and watching it constantly is just another form of holding, which is the exact thing you are learning to put down. And there is a next layer to this, which follows directly from what you learned tonight about your hours after dark. Because the same window that repairs you is also doing something else, something the council has been waiting for the right moment to describe. There is a tiredness that has nothing to do with how long you slept, that no rest touches, and no amount of early nights resolves. And it is not depletion at all. It is what happens to a body that is receiving. That transmission is coming. When it arrives, you will understand why the exhaustion that has confused you for years intensified at exactly the point your activation deepened. But before that, there is something already open to you, appearing on your screen right now. If you have had the experience of sleeping a full night and waking as though you had not slept, of 8 hours that repaired nothing, of a fatigue that sits in the body rather than in the eyelids, do not scroll past that theme. It is the hours themselves that need explaining, and what is being done inside them without your knowledge or consent. You have just learned that your night is a working shift. That teaching shows you what the work actually is. Go there now, while your field is still open and quiet from tonight. What you understand in this state will land differently than it would tomorrow afternoon. And when the hour comes around again this evening, stand in your kitchen without a verdict. Feel where the charge is, send it down, then answer the real question, whatever it turns out to be tonight. The council will be reading the hour,